Hello, and welcome back to Baseball ASMR, a channel where we talk about baseball in a relaxing way. Today I thought we'd do a video on the KBO, the Korean Baseball Organization, also known as the Korean League, which is the major league in Korea, their version of MLB. I wanted to do this video because, as you may or may not know, MLB started their regular season this year with a 2-game series between the Dodgers and the Padres in Seoul, Korea. This was in March or maybe early April. The teams split the series, but as we'll get into, both teams have historic ties to Korean players in the Korean League, so that's why those two teams were chosen, and baseball is very popular there. And more Korean players have been coming over to the MLB, as with the Japanese league and Japanese players as well. So maybe we'll do a video on the NPB, the Japanese league, in the future, but I thought I would do one on the KBO today. So settle in and I'll tell you all about the KBO. The KBO, the Korea Baseball Organization, was founded in 1981. Which is about 100 years or so after MLB was founded. And KBO stands for Korea Baseball Organization, which is the governing body. But usually when people say KBO, they mean the league, which is similar to how MLB technically means the league office, the Major League Baseball. But when they say MLB, they usually just mean the sport here in the States. The KBO oversees 2 leagues. It's the KBO League. And you'll have to excuse my poor penmanship if it rears its ugly head. The KBO League was started in 1982. This is their pro league. Professional. And it started with 6 teams. In 82, and those teams are, well, it started with 6 teams, and now they have 10, so I'll list the 10 teams, and then I'll tell you which were the original. How about that? So we have, right now, the 10 teams are the Doosan Bears, and they were the Obi Bears when the league began. Then we have the Hanwha Eagles in Daejeon. And Doosan Bears are in Seoul. The Hanwha Eagles are in Daejeon, so Hanwha Eagles, Daejeon. Then you have the Kia Tigers in Gwangju. And there are some stadiums in the States that are named after companies, but I don't think there are teams that are named after companies, but in the KBO there are a few named after companies like the Kia Tigers. And they're in Gwangju. But when the league was started, they were the Haetai Tigers. And the Kiwoom Heroes. They're also in Seoul, which is obviously, if you know, maybe you don't, it is the capital of South Korea, which is why they have so many teams. I believe they have 3. Then, next alphabetically, is the KT Wiz. And they're in Suwon. They were not a founding team. Next is the LG Twins in Seoul. Again, another team named for a company. But when the league began, they were named the MBC Chongyong. it spelled right. And then we have the Latte Giants. Oh my god, my penmanship is so bad. I don't write much anymore. I basically just type for my job, so thank you for bearing with me. And they're in Busan. Then after them, we have the NC Dinos in Changwon. Then the Samsung Lions, and they're in Daegu. And they were an original member, along with the Latte Giants. Those two haven't changed their name. I think they're the only original teams who haven't changed their names. And lastly is the SSG Landers, and they're in Incheon. So there you go. Those are the 10 teams. The Doosan Bears, who were the OB Bears when the league started, they're in Seoul. Hanwha Eagles in Daejeon. The Kia Tigers in Gwangju, but they were the Haetai Tigers when the league started. The Kiwoom Heroes in Seoul. The KT Wiz in Suwon. The LG Twins also in Seoul, who were named the MBC Chongyong when the league started. The Latte Giants in Busan. And the NC Dinos in Changwon, the Samsung Lions in Daegu, and the SSG Landers in Incheon. Those are your teams in the KBO League, the professional league. Now, for the other league, let me erase this real quick. That's the professional league. The other league is the Futures League. And that was started in 1990, or 8 years after they made the Pro League. This is basically like the minor league in Korea. The difference is that in America, MLB has several levels. They have single A, which is also just, well, that's, I guess, hang on. They have single A, and then they have high A, which is also known as A+. And then you have double A, triple A, and then those are technically the recognized leagues, I believe. And then there's also the Florida and Arizona complex leagues, which are also known as rookie ball. Those are the lowest. Those are for your kids coming out of high school who forwent, who didn't go to college. They go to rookie ball, and then they go to single A, high A, double A, triple A if they do all the levels. But a lot of really good players will start in double A or high A. Anyway, that's how it works in the MLB. In the KBO, it's just the Futures League, just one league. And most teams have the same name and uniform as their parent league, which is sometimes common here in the U.S. as well. For instance, the Syracuse Mets, where I am from, are obviously the farm team for the New York Mets. They used to be called the Sky Chiefs and the Chiefs before that, and they've changed team affiliations over the years, but now that they're with the Mets, they're called the Syracuse Mets, which makes, I guess, branding easier, makes more sense for fans to keep track of it. I get why they do it. So that's the Futures League. That's the minor league of the KBO. So I think maybe, for instance, the Samsung Lions, their minor league team would also be the Samsung Lions. And you would just know the difference because they're in a different league. Clear this off real quick. Now, the season is how many games? I bet you're wondering. It's 144 games in the KBO. And MLB, for comparison, is 162. So they play a little bit less. And they also do a balanced schedule. So a balanced schedule simply means that every team plays all the other teams the same amount. This is fairly common in leagues. In the NBA, that's fairly common. And MLB recently started doing this, I think maybe 1 or 2 years ago. It's more fair for teams in all the different divisions to play all the other teams than, say, I'm a Yankees fan and they're in a tough division. So it's more fair for the Yankees to play all the other divisions that maybe aren't as good as the AL East than to only play AL East teams. Which I guess technically could be viewed as a little unfair for teams in weaker divisions, but, I think it's fair for all the teams to play all the teams the same amount or more closer to the same amount in MLB than they used to. So they play a balanced schedule. Each team plays the others 16 times. The MLB started that last year in 23. And then KBO teams play roughly 6 games a week. Well, actually, it's not roughly. That's what they do. I guess it is roughly. I'm having trouble reading my notes. Can you tell? So they play 6 games a week, and they have Mondays off. Doesn't that sound great? I would love to work no Mondays, but I guess they have to work weekends, so that's a trade-off. The NPB in Japan has the same setup. They play 6 games a week, so sometimes when players come over from the KBO or the NPB, there are concerns about the schedule because they're used to having certain days off and certain days not. So the MLB is basically play until you have an off day. Sometimes you have 12 or 17 days in a row with a game, plus travel. Your body gets beat up. So it's a little different. Okay, there is an all-star game like the MLB. It's in July in the KBO, which is similar to the MLB. But I would say the main difference is the playoffs. So they have a playoff system which is called a ladder system. Now, I don't know if I can accurately draw a chart that would depict what it is, but I'll explain it and then maybe I'll try to draw it. So it starts with the top 5 teams make the playoffs in the KBO, which is half the league. And that's similar to MLB, where 12 teams now qualify, which is 40% of the league, because there are 3 wild cards in each league, AL, NL, plus the 3 division leaders. That's 6 in each league, so 12 out of 30 make it. So the top 5 teams play a ladder style where the best teams have more buys. The top team doesn't even play until their version of the World Series, which I believe is called the Korean Series. So they only play 1 series, which is kind of crazy to an American sports fan to have a bye all the way to the end. So let's see if I can do this. Okay, so number 5 plays number 4 in the first round. And the 4th place team starts with a 1-0 lead. So the 5th place team has to win twice to win this round, and the 4th place team only needs to win once. Then the winner, I'll just put W for winner, plays the number 3 team in the next round. So this is round 1, and this is round 2. So number 3 plays the winner. Well, you know what I'm saying here. Sorry about that. This is round 2. Number 3 plays the winner of the 5-4 matchup. So this has a special circumstance. They start with a 1-0 lead, If they win, then it's only a 1-game series. If they win one, then it's a 2-game series. But round 2 is 1 or 2 games here. That's a G. This is a best of 5 series. So the first team here to win 3 out of 5 games wins. So then the winner of that one moves on to play the number 2 seed. And then this is also a best of 5 series. I believe this is called the semifinal. So the winner of this round 2 comes here in round 3, which this is a little sloppy, but I think you can follow. Round 3 is the winner of round 2 versus the number 2 seed in a best of 5 series. And then finally, after all that, the winner of that goes on to play the top seed in a best of 7 series. And then this is called the Korean series. This right here, this last round. That's their version of the World Series. It's a best of 7 series with the number 1 team against the winner of all these other rounds. So you can kind of see how it's a ladder. And it blows my mind. The first time I read that these teams, the best teams, each got successive more buys was kind of crazy, because that doesn't exist in American sports. Maybe if you're a soccer or football, I guess they call it elsewhere. If you're a fan of that sport, maybe there's a similar setup around the world. I'm not sure, but American football, basketball, hockey, baseball, this is something I've never seen, even college sports. So it's pretty cool and unique, which is one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this with you guys, because I thought it was very interesting. So, and then one other note for the postseason is that in the regular season, you're allowed to have ties after, I think, maybe 11 innings. I don't know. I think I noted that somewhere. Maybe I skipped over it, but you're allowed to have ties in the regular season. But in the postseason, any game ending in a tie just gets replayed. So no ties. Replay the entire game, which is kind of crazy. So any of these rounds could go more games than this. So if there's any ties, it might be more than 6. It could be 7, 6 or 7. It could be more than 5. So the Korean series could be more than 7 games. Could be 9. Could be 11. Could be a lot. So that's the postseason. Let me go ahead and clear this off. We'll continue. So, let's center that a little bit. We'll zoom out a little bit. Okay, cool. So that was the postseason. As far as the most successful team in KBO history, that is the Kia Tigers. They've had 11 championship wins out of 42 possible. So in the MLB, the Yankees, my favorite team, have the most with 27 out of 119. So you can do the math on who is more successful. It might be Kia. That's like 1 out of 4. This is a little less than 1 out of 4. I don't know. I'm more of a words guy than a math guy. The level of play, according to ESPN, in the KBO is somewhere between AA and AAA. So no knocks on the Korean players. There have been a few, maybe a dozen or so, 2 dozen, that have come over and had successful careers in the MLB, but that is the exception because, it's just a smaller country, smaller pool of players to filter into the league. The MLB is the premier of the world, of course, so all the best players want to go there, they do go there, and so the better players end up in MLB. So between AA and AAA, that's still pretty good. And if you're really good in this league, that means you're at least AAA, if not MLB ready. So it makes sense that many players would come over. And this would be the rating that ESPN came up with. So for rules, they have very similar rules to the MLB. There's a universal DH, which is a designated hitter if you don't know, which means this is a player on the team that only hits. They do not play defense. And basically they are a substitution for the pitcher hitting. Back in the day when the game started, pitchers would pitch and then hit when it was their turn. But over the years, pitching became much more specialized, so pitchers spent all their time learning how to pitch and getting better at pitching, and they didn't have as much time to hit, so pitchers became very poor hitters, and it was kind of boring to watch. And so the AL at one point instituted a designated hitter rule, which means that a DH would come in on the team, and they would only bat when it was the pitcher's turn. And then when they were on defense, the pitcher, of course, would pitch and field his position, and the DH would be on the bench. So the KBO has the same rule, and that was the rule in the AL forever, and the NL still had pitchers hit until recently when they also adopted a universal DH. Much to many fans' dismay, but I, as a fan of the Yankees in the AL, I prefer the DH. I don't really want to watch pitchers hit. I think it's boring. But feel free to leave a comment if you miss watching pitchers hit. I mean, Drew Bartolo Colon, a very heavy-set pitcher hitting a home run, was cool to watch, but I think that's like one in hundreds of at-bats that would happen. So anyway, I got off track. So they have a universal DH, and they had that before MLB did. And then, of course, like I said, the main difference between the MLB and KBO, rules-wise, is ties. MLB games cannot end in ties. They must play until somebody wins, and there's different ways to do that. There's, suspended play after 5 innings. If you watch the trivia video, any game after 5 innings is considered official. I think if it's a tie, they resume play, but if one team is leading, they just consider it done. But yeah, if it's tied after 5, I think you just got to keep playing until someone breaks the tie, and then of course they have the extra innings rules. Here in the KBO, there's an innings limit. So after 12 innings, and they're tied, it's just marked a tie. That's in the regular season. In the playoffs, it's 15 innings. So you could go 15 innings at 0-0, and then they just call the game, and in the playoffs you have to replay it. So I think we'll get to some records a little bit later, and that will factor in, because if you have more games to play because of ties, you're more able to break records for counting stats, which are stats that accumulate, not per game or per at bat or whatever. So those are the main rule differences between the KBO and the MLB. The other part of KBO, or baseball in Korea, is that they're very well known for their vocal and engaged fan bases and their cheering culture. There's a widespread practice of bat flips. Cheering culture is huge. And then, this has bat flips, which some American fans don't like, but I like it. Bat flips, I think, are great. I think players should show emotion. They're playing a game, and you have to have your adrenaline up. You have to have your you're feeling, and you have to play with your whole self. So when you do something great, I think it's great to celebrate it. Of course, there's always a line of how much is too much, and everyone's line is different, and that's where there are problems. But I think bat flips in and of themselves are not a problem. So bat flips are one thing they have. Then there are fight songs, and that goes for teams have fight songs, and then some players even have their own fight songs. And each team has cheerleaders. It's people who just lead cheers, kind of like in English soccer or soccer around the world. It's basically just fight songs that they cheer along with. They, keep people organized and say what's coming next. And most fight songs tend to be pop songs or K-pop songs that are repurposed with new lyrics to make it easy for people to know the melody and sing along. Teams even have their own specialty foods, which doesn't really have to do with the cheering culture, but it kind of does. This is based on their region or city where they are. They have specialty foods. And then there are cheering sections that are specialized in each stadium. And some are like a bar, some are family friendly. I read about one that has PlayStations available to play so people can game while they watch the game. And then there's one that is like a Korean barbecue where you go and make your own food. There's the table with the grill in the middle, and you put all your ingredients on and cook while you sit there with your friends. So it's sort of that experience at the ballpark, which I thought was pretty cool. And now there are even apps for teams, for fans to learn fight songs ahead of time. So they take it pretty seriously. There's some dances, I think, as well. So the cheering culture is pretty huge. If you saw the Seoul Series between the Dodgers and the Padres this past spring, you saw some of that on display. Or during the pandemic when the MLB was not playing games, KBO was, and I think ESPN had the rights in 2020, so you might have seen it then. So that's about the cheering culture and the rules. Now we'll talk about awards after I clear this off. Who doesn't like to talk about awards? They're so fun, yeah. Everybody gets one, except for no, because they don't. KBO awards. So their awards are basically the same as the MLB. There is an MVP, Most Valuable Player. There is an All-Star Game MVP, like in MLB. There is a Korea. Well, that's a weird K. Well, that's a K. There is a Korean Series MVP. I don't know why I did that all caps, but I did. That's basically World Series MVP in MLB. There's Rookie of the Year, like in MLB. There's Golden Glove, which is awarded at each position. So that's the best defender at that position throughout the entire league. So there's only one first baseman who gets a Golden Glove in the entire league. There's one second baseman, etc. In MLB, they do this, and they also have one platinum glove per league. So that is, of all the Golden Glove winners in that league, only one of them gets the platinum glove, and that goes to the best defender of the entire league. So one person each year will have both a Golden Glove and a platinum glove per league. And then MLB also has one utility basically means a player that plays multiple positions and is good at all of them or some of them, which is a very valuable thing for teams to be able to move them around and sort of fill in when there are injuries or roster moves. A utility infielder who is Golden Glove level is very, very valuable. But I don't believe KBO has either of these. And then, of course, lastly but not leastly, is the Choi Dong-won Award. That's an O. Cho Dong-won. So, in MLB, it's called the Cy Young Award. That is for the best pitcher in each league. In MLB and in KBO, it's just the best pitcher because there's only one league. So, who's Choi Dong-won? In MLB, Cy Young was a great pitcher in the early days of the sport, and this award was named after him. And so now, Choi Dong-won is sort of an equivalent of Cy Young. He was the first KBO pitcher with 1,000 strikeouts. He threw 209 pitches in a 1987 15-inning game, which I believe is still a record, and it's considered one of the best games ever in KBO history. And there was a movie made about it called Perfect Game, which immortalizes this moment, which is pretty famous in KBO history. That movie was from 2011. I haven't seen it, but maybe I will someday. I don't know. I've seen some movies, but not all baseball movies. So maybe I'll do a video on baseball movies, and we can rank them and talk about what they have in common or what they get wrong. Leave a comment if you're interested in that. So those are the awards. We'll move on here to American players in the KBO and vice versa, KBO players in MLB. So, American players, U.S. in the KBO, they started allowing this in 1998, which is, 17 years after the league started? So they didn't want to do it at first because they didn't want to dilute the competition. Like I said before, ESPN says that KBO is between AA and AAA, so if you had a bunch of U.S. players coming over, it would tilt the balance in favor of the teams with the U.S. players, and I don't think they wanted to do that. So they didn't do it for a while. It took 17 years to even do it. And then when they first started doing it, there was one per team. There was a limit. Now there's a limit of 3 per team. At first, this is now. And this is, the 3 per team is 2 pitchers max. So you can have 2 pitchers and 1 position player. Or you could have 3 position players, I guess. But you can't have 3 pitchers, I think, is probably a good idea. There's also a specific salary cap for U.S. players in the KBO, again, to help limit competition or keep the competition fair. So the first notable American to play in the KBO is Tyrone Woods. If that ever comes up on trivia, now you know. He was a first baseman from the Expos. Now, for the KBO players to come to the U.S., I guess I'll just put MLB. Obviously, we know that's U.S. There is a posting system, which is similar to how the Japanese or MLB League does it. So to come from the KBO to the MLB, players must first play 7 years in KBO. They can't move leagues before 7 years. Then when they're posted, called a 4-day silent auction. And they submit sealed bids on how much they want to pay for the player. And then once a KBO team accepts a bid, so let's say the bid is approved. Once that happens, then 30 days is how much time the player has to negotiate with the MLB team that won the bid. So if the KBO player comes to terms with the American team, then they get to sign with the team, and the sealed bid becomes the transfer fee to the KBO team. If they can't come to terms, then the player goes back to the KBO team. So basically, the MLB teams, they come up with an amount they think this player is worth paying for, on top of the contract they have to give them. And then the KBO team keeps that bid as a transfer fee if they come to terms. If they don't, then KBO player goes back to his team. Now, that's how the process works. Let's talk about famous players who came over from the KBO. The first to do it was Chan Ho Park. And he was a pitcher who came over in 94. He was also not only the first Korean-born player to come to the MLB, he was the first All-Star from Korea as well in 2001. And in addition to being a good pitcher, I know him from an infamous soundbite about a personal malady or physical affliction, let's say. I'll let you Google it. Then another notable transfer was Byung-hyun Kim, who was also a pitcher, and he came over in 99. He played for the Arizona Diamondbacks. He was an all-star as well in 2002, the year after Chan Ho Park. And he's famous for giving up back-to-back ninth-inning leads in the World Series in 2001. But then, of course, I'm a Yankees fan. I remember them losing to the Diamondbacks that year because Luis Gonzalez had that walk-off hit against Mariano Rivera. So it all worked out. Another notable transfer is Shin Soo Chu, who was an outfielder / DH. I don't have the year for him, but he played well in the Under-18 Baseball World Cup, which I'm not sure if that still exists, but he was signed by the Mariners after that. Technically, he played in the MLB before he played in the KBO, but he was born in Busan, so he still counts as a Korean-born player coming over. More recently, after Shin Soo Chu, there's also Hyun Jin Ryu, who is a pitcher. He played with the Blue Jays and Dodgers. And then Jung Hoo Lee is an outfielder. Dodgers and Blue Jays. That's a J. Jung Hoo Lee was just signed by the Giants. San Francisco, of course. Not the Lottie Giants. And then also Woo Suk Go is a pitcher for the Padres who played in the Seoul Series. Those are some notable KBO players who came over to MLB. And another one that didn't happen, that is pretty famous, is who their Cy Young Award is named after. Choi Dong-won. He tried to come over to the Blue Jays, but it was 1981, and it was was the year before the KBO started the league, so they didn't want their best pitcher or one of the best pitchers to go to the U.S. They wanted him to stay and make the league good. So the Korean government actually stepped in. And they said, okay, you can go pitch in the MLB, but you have to do a year of military service. Or you can forego your service and stay in the KBO. And so he opted not to go to the military and pitched in the KBO. So in total, as of my research, there have been 23 KBO players who came over to MLB. That's pretty cool. Oh, sorry, that's as of 2020, so there may be a few more since then. So that's a little overview on players coming over via the posting system. And I think we'll end up, we'll erase this, and we'll finish up the video here by talking about what inspired the series in general, which is KBO, the Seoul Series. That was the whole reason I wanted to do this video. So the Seoul Series was created this year. Last year they announced it. Played this year in 2024. And it was between the Dodgers and the Padres. And they played two games. And they split them. Each won one game. Before they played their 2-game set, they played 4 exhibition games against Korean teams. That included the Kiwoom Heroes, played 1 game, the LG Twins, and Team Korea, their World Baseball Classic and Olympics team. I think there are still baseball Olympic teams, I'm not sure. So there were 4 games played between the Dodgers, Padres, and these teams. I don't know exactly who played who, but these 2 teams were selected because of their historic ties to Korean baseball. The Padres, as I stated before, oh, I forgot to mention Ha-Sung Kim. He's pretty good. He is a shortstop, and he plays other positions as well. They also have Woo Suk-go. And then the Dodgers, of course, historically employed the first ever player, Chan-Ho Park. So he came and he threw out the first ceremonial first pitch. And the Dodgers also have other players in the past, like Hyunjin Ryu. And they may have another one on their roster from Korea, but I'm not sure. And then, of course, there were Japanese players like Shohei Ohtani for the Dodgers, and Yu Darvish for the Padres, both of whom received loud ovations and attracted fans to the Sky Dome for the games. So that was the initial Seoul Series. We'll have to wait and see if they want to redo it or renew it next year in 2025. I think it was a success. I don't know if you watched it. Let me know if you did in a comment. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe the channel and leave a comment on what you liked about the video or maybe other videos you'd like to see. I hope to talk more about baseball with you guys in the future, and hopefully this video helped you relax. So thank you, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.